Do you agree with this?
Hit a high of 27 and change. Where do you think this is headed, and what could drive it downwards?
Yeah, so we ultimately think at some point it's going to be going down to 8.
It's at 21 right now, guys, so go ahead.
It might take a little bit to get there, but what we see is not only from, again, a 23 times price to sales aspect, which we just view as
really
astronomical.
Lofty, yeah.
Yes. Obviously, it came into profitability around 2 years ago, and so that's helped what we believe is this wave kind of pushing it higher. But we think with everything else, earnings expectations kind of stabilizing, market softening, it left a big old gap at 18, right? So that's the first stop, and then really from there, 12 to 14. And so we think that's possible in the next 3 to 6 months, just depending how stubborn the market might be to the upside itself.
I was going to say, I mean, does it buck the trend? Because if tech is doing well, yeah, Palantir may just go up along with it. And then your thesis, you said you could maybe drop 50% or more, yeah, right, to go to $8. You got to see the market pull
right
back too, or no?
I think yes. In almost every scenario, right? Of course, there's the case that Palantir just goes against and the market continues to rally higher, but that's going to help, right? When we saw the last couple of weeks, Palantir fell from 27 to 22, right? So we're talking 15% pullback when the market only did 3, 4, 5%. And so get another 3, 4, 5% from the market, there goes another 15, 20% off of the price of Palantir. So it will help, and that's the risk reward is cautiously bearish on that, just because Palantir could rip higher, try to test 27, and if the market's strong behind it, traders are going to push it.
You know, and I want to get to Chipotle, but when it's at $8, do you buy it back? Do you buy it at $8?
Given that I think it's a great company, right?
Right.
Valuation for stretch at $8, yes. Back up the truck, right? Given that nothing financially has changed,
then you would like it.
Do. Then
yeah,
I like it.
Because then it's more fair, because it's not the 23 times price to sales where we're seeing now.
We've got an analyst here giving their $8 take on Palantir within the next 3 to 6 months. Now, if you listen to the conversation, Zaparo from Equity Set doesn't hate Palantir as a company. The main issue is valuation, and they don't focus too much on the fundamentals or narrative of the company itself. I mean, it's a quick interview, but rather the macro as well as technicals on Palantir's price. So the only reference to that is just the rich price to sales ratio, which I will concede, of course, but you can say the same about many different points in time for many companies. But the main way he sees Palantir reaching $8 is if they fill the gap down to 18, then going to 12 to 14, and then possibly 8, which he said would be attractive for Palantir, granted nothing changes financially. And obviously that'd be a no-brainer in my biased opinion, of course, considering as long as nothing fundamentally changed besides the price, then the risk reward will be that much favorable. But that's also just assuming the market will price them traditionally based on multiples you think it should have. And he even concedes himself that Palantir is one of those stocks that can still rip higher or move alongside other big tech names at the price they are at today. And we know the reason for these rich multiples is because of the narrative and anticipation from investors that they can reach higher growth eventually. Looking at their latest earnings, we're still in that high teens to 20% growth rate officially, which honestly doesn't cut it being a $40+ billion company, expecting to bring in a little over $2.5 billion in revenue for a full year of 2024, which hopefully can be exceeded. But that's just what's officially on paper outside of the AIP boot camps and the power of Palantir that we hear from customers. So overall, I'd say this is a nothing burger, at least for me, considering he basically said it can go down, but it can also go up, but did want to point out these kind of interviews while they'll grab your attention with, say, an $8 price target, and then the whole doom and gloom scenario around Palantir. And it will probably pop up much more as we get closer to earnings being the it thing to talk about. And note, nothing is impossible, of course. We've seen them go from $40 to $6, so it's possible given time and macro conditions, but also Palantir has grown as a company since then, so who knows? And more so, you can ask yourself the same questions in the opposite direction, say with a Dan Ives or a Mariana, thinking a $28 or $35 price target. But more so, I'm curious how you think about these analysts talking about where they think about Palantir and going to even $8 potentially in its mind. So let me know below, and I'll see you in the next video.